Okay, we're at the GSL Ranch today. It is north of San Antonio, just kind of to the west of Austin, and it's a private property, but you can come out here, open to the public to ride. It's $10 per rider, and camping is free, so we're going to check it out and see what it's like. You know, I really didn't have a lot of expectation for GSL Ranch before we spent a couple of days there in spring break of 2018. But, you know, on the surface it just kind of looked like everything was like this, just kind of flat. Not a lot of elevation, kind of hard packed with a few rocks scattered among some cedar trees and so forth. Didn't look like there was going to be a whole lot of interest, but that was just what the expectation was. After riding around for a few hours, we actually found some pretty cool stuff. It actually had a lot more to offer than what I would have thought, just, you know, what appeared to be on the surface. Some of the pros and cons that I would say are that, you know, the pros are the camping. The camping was great, assuming you like dry camping. If you like dry camping, it was really great. It was a lot of good spots, you know, among the trees and so forth. There was a lot of firewood. It wasn't real crowded, even though we were there over spring break. It really wasn't very crowded. You know, there were people there during the day, but usually at nighttime, you know, there weren't a whole lot of people camping out there, so pretty secluded as far as that goes. Another good thing about it is that it was pretty cheap. Like I said, you know, at the very beginning, it's only $10 per rider per day to ride there, and that's it. Camping is free. You don't have to pay anything to camp. The main trails, you know, as exciting as flat double crack can be, there's you know, there's actually a lot you can find outside of that. There's a lot of stuff to play on. You know, if you like riding fast through trees and technical stuff, technical single track, you know, for hours, you're probably not going to like it so much. But if you like, you know, seeking out rock formations and big boulders to jump over, you know, dry creek beds and all that kind of stuff, it was actually really, really good. In fact, I think it's, I think the, you know, the rocks and all that had a lot of traction, and in fact, I think one of the trials associations, I think, is actually having a trials event out there, which, you know, I think would be a really good place for a trials event. On the downside, you know, there were no restrooms, you know, to speak of. You got to, you know, channel your inner, you know, bear in the woods, so to speak. You know, I guess if you have a big RV, I guess that would be a problem. But I will say there are no RV hookups, so any of the camping that you're going to do out here is going to be dry camping, which is personally what I like doing anyway. You know, it tends to be whenever you have RV hookups, they tend to just be kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a big sort of trailer park, you know, because that's how you have to run electricity and all that kind of stuff. But you know, there did seem to be, kind of on the downside, there did seem to be a lot of, like, I don't know, junk, I guess, for lack of a better word, lying around, like piles of brush and different stuff like that. Not that it's really bothersome. It's not like it was anything that was gonna, you know, that you'd have to ride through, that you're gonna, you know, get a hole in your tire or anything. But, you know, if you're gonna go out there and you're expecting it to be, you know, kind of just, you know, sort of pristine Central Texas countryside, you know, just be aware that there is a lot of, you know, a lot of kind of like junk laying around. The only other downside to it is that it seemed like there were a lot of inexperienced riders out there, and by inexperienced I mean, you know, for example, like there'd be 4 or 5 people show up with one dirt bike, and then they would all take turns riding the one dirt bike, and, you know, they didn't have helmets or any other kind of gear and so forth, which, you know, I know everybody has to get started and all that, and that's how you do that. Just need to be aware of, if you're riding out there, that, you know, some of these people that are riding out there really have no idea what they're doing. It may be their first time on a dirt bike. So if you're riding anywhere in the vicinity, you just kind of have to be aware of that. In fact, I think when we were out there, we were probably the best 2 riders out there, and that's really not saying a whole lot. My favorite part of GSL Ranch was the dry creek bed. There's no doubt that that was a ton of fun. I think we spent most of our time riding up and down it, you know, looking at it and trying to find different areas that we could ride through. You know, at first, when you first see it, it looks a little bit intimidating. And in fact, the first couple times I rode through it, I was kind of unsure of my footing and all that. But I realized that I guess it's granite, and even though some of the rocks were like baby heads, a lot of them had really good traction. And I don't mean just traction on your tire, I mean traction between the rocks. You'd go over a rock and you'd expect it to roll, and it wouldn't. It would kind of stay in place. So that was a lot of fun. I think we spent, you know, a large part of our time just riding up and down the creek bed. Just off of the main trail, there were also some rock formations. Like I mentioned, the trials thing, there were some rock formations that, you know, you can kind of play around too, little climbing and stuff like that. I could see where it really would be a really good place for a trials event. You know, on top of that, there's a lot of other things you can find out there to explore. Like, for example, we found, I don't know if it was intentional or if it was, you know, they were moving stuff around or whatever, but there was a big strip of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, caliche whoops that you could ride over. I'm sure an A rider would probably just, you know, hit the gas and just ride right over all of them. Of course, I'm not an A rider, so I couldn't do that. But I will say that it was a lot more difficult than you think it would be because, you know, if you know anything about caliche, you know caliche is pretty loose. And so it was just, it looked like somebody took like a front end loader and just started laying up piles of loose caliche. But anyway, that was a lot of fun to ride on. We also found an area where it was kind of like a big sort of granite outcropping with a bunch of trees on top of it. That was probably I don't know, maybe a 6-foot wall at about maybe like something like, you know, it wasn't straight up, but it was something like 80 degrees or something like that. But again, it was granite, so you had really good traction on it. So it was a lot of fun. You could find different spots to go up on that and jump up in there in between the trees and all that. Unfortunately, my GoPro, you know, died, and I forgot my charger until we, like after we left GSL Ranch, went and got another charger for it. But, so I didn't get a lot of footage of some of that stuff. So there's more to the ranch than what you're actually seeing on the video here. I know my expectations were pretty low when I got there, but I'd say it definitely exceeded my expectations, especially when you look at the whole package, you know, considering the camping was great. There was plenty of firewood, cool campsites and all that stuff, combined with, you know, the riding and being able to find different areas to kind of play around on. You know, if you're thinking about, you know, oh, I'll go here instead of going to Colorado, you know, for a week, it's probably doesn't have enough for that, you know. But if you're talking about going down there for a day ride or for like a weekend, you know, getting there on a Friday and spending, you know, Friday night and Saturday night and riding Saturday and Sunday, I'd say it's a really good place to go. It's definitely worth checking out. So it's a GSL Ranch in Condalia, Texas.